680's Richard Southern joins us now. Richard, Manulife is cutting hundreds of jobs and they're replacing them with machines.
It's the way it goes these days, isn't it, Francis? Rise of the machines at Manulife, 700 jobs being cut at the insurer. That's the announcement we got in today, and that's 5.3% of Manulife's Canadian workforce. The insurer says it's part of a plan to digitize its operations. It says the cuts will come through voluntary exit and attrition. This is really what we're seeing, especially in the financial industry right now. We're seeing big profits from the insurers and from the banks, but we're also seeing them turning to technologies like AI to streamline their operations. We're also seeing customers go and do their banking and their insurance operations more online. So that's why job cuts are happening. It's the rise of the machines, Francis.
Now, the largest condo available in Toronto has been sold to a cryptocurrency baron.
Yeah, this is the top of the former Trump Tower building downtown, Francis. Anthony Delorio, the co-founder of Ethereum, that digital currency, he has bought this now for $28 million.
Wow.
Yeah, it was been sitting empty for years. Nobody bought it. Of course, the building now owned by Invest Hotels. They call it the Adelaide Hotel. It's going to be rebranded the St. Regis in a little bit. Bloomberg News reports that Delorio spent $28 million on this. And how did he finance it? He didn't take out a mortgage, Francis. He cashed in some of his digital currency and wire transferred the money. That's that. Didn't even think twice about it. The condo fees, by the way, almost $15,000 a month. This is, I guess, the only way you're affording something like that these days is to make billions in cryptocurrency like this gentleman has. And by the way, it's not the most expensive condo ever sold. One went for $40 million out in Vancouver.
Interesting, though, that he wants to put it into bricks and mortar, though, right?
It's true, and he said this. He said, this is my sort of fallback plan to get into to real estate, which obviously he views as being a bit more secure than digital currency.
Absolutely, although at the top of that building, I don't know. WestJet's new budget airline took flight yesterday. So today, though, there's news that a European budget carrier is about to enter Canada.
Yeah, it's Norwegian, and we're getting some more news on this. These guys are big, as you know, Francis, in Europe, kind of an ultra-low-cost carrier there. Norwegian coming to Canada now. They're going to fly out of Hamilton and Montreal, and they're going to go to Europe, and they're also going to go to the Caribbean. Because they're a European airline, they're allowed to fly to European islands in the Caribbean out of Canada. So a one-way flight between Hamilton and Dublin, Ireland, going for about $279 when they start up in the fall. So we're starting to see a lot of competition. We'll see if that's going to bring prices down even more in the next couple of months.
Interesting with the European Caribbean loophole there.
It is. Yeah, they're going to something like Martinique and some of these European islands. But again, you got to go to Hamilton for Swoop and for Norwegian. And that's going to, I think, put a lot of people here in the GTA off, don't you think?
Although if it's going to save you a buck, you never know, right? Yeah. Burger King apologized for offensive World Cup-related ads in Russia.
Well, this was a wild one. Burger King offered free Whoppers and cash to any Russian woman who got pregnant by a World Cup player. At first, the company said it was socially responsible of them, as the women would obtain the best football genes and ensure the Russian team for generations. Oh boy. Burger King quickly apologized, pulled the ad, said it wouldn't happen again. Fact of the matter, though, is ads in Russia often play on sexist stereotypes, especially ads around sporting events. Women's rights activists in the country increasingly speaking out against them. So Burger King quickly trying to correct their mistake on that one.
Yikes. Well, it is the first day of summer, Richard, and how many of us are planning on seeing the boys of summer this season? Now, the business of baseball is in trouble, and attendance is plummeting across the league, including here in the city. Yeah,
sure is. Overall, the league attendance is down 6.5% from last year, and who's leading the way? It is the Toronto Blue Jays, Francis. A 29% drop-off in attendance over last year. The team seeing about 429,000 fewer fans so far. You know, the reason is obvious when you look at the performance. 16 teams, including the Jays, have lost more games than they've won. Players are striking out more often than ever, 22.5% of the time. The league on pace for more strikeouts than hits. The cost of going to the game continues to rise. The average ticket in the league is $77. The teams, though, or the league on a whole, not suffering too much financially thanks to big TV deals. But the CEO, the owner, worried about the future of the game with people just not going the way they used to, Francis.
And beer. What's happening with beer? So the government is about to undergo a makeover here with beer. What are they doing? Changing the definition?
Don't worry. We still have our beer.
Okay.
But yeah, federal officials, they're proposing changes, Francis, to the national beer standards that would widen the number of ingredients permitted in beer and would also, though, force those ingredients to be listed in more detail. Brewers would be able to use fruit or, for example, lavender or coriander and still have the beverage classed as beer. Suds would no longer need to be categorized into certain types like ale, stout, or porter. Instead, they're proposing limits on sugar content to simplify the language around the use of additives in an effort to define what beer is. And some say this is going to spur on a lot of innovation in the industry. Others, though, warn that the detailed labeling may cost a lot of smaller brewers too much money and may put them out of business.
Coriander, lavender beer. I don't know.
I'll stick to my Molson Canadian, I think.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Richard.